Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV for the third round of AOG Fixed Indy Australia. One more road course round before we start getting into ovals for the season, and what a place to end the opening stanza of our season here at Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama. One of the modern classic road courses in the United States, built in 2003 and has been thrilling spectators and drivers ever since. Certainly going to be hard work in these Dallara IR-18 IndyCars. To bring it to you all live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch and Kick, it's me, Reese Gardner. Brady Baldwin is with me in the comms box and Jay Kennedy alongside us in the producer's chair. Brady, we love Barber. It's one of the best road courses on the service for my money, and we're certainly looking for some big moves from many drivers here tonight.
Yeah, Reece, it's probably one of the more underrated tracks, in my opinion, on the server. It's very flowing, very fast in these particular cars, and it really works well with all sorts of type of cars, but it's very, very good in these Dallara IR-18s, the Indy cars, as we call them, as we zoom in to Birmingham, Alabama, in the southeast of the United States of America, just west of Atlanta. This is a fantastic circuit, like you touched on, Reece. 15 turns, just under 4 kilometers a lane, 3.83 to be exact, and plenty of overtaking opportunities around this circuit, especially if you're pretty brave into turn 1, turn 2, maybe turn 5. Obviously the big opportunity at the hairpin, and then down to the downstairs section through 7, 7A, 7B, and the very fast flowing from 8 all the way through to 13, and the slow, long right-hander as you go through 13, 14 into the final corner. It's such a fantastic track race.
Yeah, it packs a lot of racetrack into a very confined space, doesn't it? It twists and turns. There's very short straights. There's not much time to get your move on. But fortunately, drivers, once again, will have push to pass, this being a road course. I think one of the defining aspects of this circuit in an IndyCar is just how much speed you carry through all of these corners. You run the highest downforce you possibly can for this place. It's essentially the Monaco of IndyCar if you don't count street circuits like Long Beach. It's all about keeping up momentum through the corners, making sure that you have your car in order by the time you get to the end of those long straights, so you don't go spearing off into the grass and gravel that lines this entire racetrack. Meanwhile, this is what's on for tonight. 15 minutes of qualifying. Once again, the drivers are in the middle of that right now. We've got a 55-lap race coming up here where drivers once again need to use both the primary and alternate compounds of tyre. The alternate has a red stripe. It's the softer compound. Live race control, manual safety cars, and 10 push-to-passes as per usual at road course rounds, Brady.
Yeah, certainly a lot of time packed with that. With our format for tonight, 55 laps will go by pretty quickly because there's not much to a lap around this place, just over a minute in length as we go to the championship standings. Thomas Hinds, after the fantastic run he had at Indy Road Course 2 weeks ago, leads the points by just 3 over Drop Bear Motorsports. Carson Broad and Daniel Edmonds only 1 point behind him in 5th. It's so very close, and that's what I like about this series with the points structure as well. It's so close. it's 19 points between the top 10, so absolutely nothing in there. Adam Blocker, he only done the last round at Indy Road Course, dominated that. He's right up to 5th in the points. We've seen Cameron Dance and Tim Vaughan have their struggles at Indy Road Course a couple of weeks ago, so they'll be looking for a big bounce back. Harry Lawrence and Scott Rankin ran out the top 10 as Simrix.com DPR have a pretty commanding lead, as you'd say, in the championship standings for the teams over Drop Bear Motorsports, and CX2 Racing ran out the podium positions.
Indeed. Power Slide Motorsports is Adam Blocker's team. He is the one and only car competing for that organization in this series. And considering the 7th place in the team standings against multiple 2-car teams, that really says something about Adam Blocker's talent. And he currently sits 2nd in the qualifying session. We're looking at 3rd place right now. Tim Vaughan, who's looking rather quick, already running faster than he did in practice, and trying to improve as he comes into the final sector. Usually you see cars climbing all over that curb through the dip, but the Indy cars stay off it. These are very stiffly sprung open wheel race cars, so you've got to be careful which curbs you hit around here.
Yeah, Timothy Vaughan as well was very impressive at Indy Road Course. Very unlucky not to get a result. That mistake off that restart 2 weeks ago unfortunately cost him a potential podium in that race. So he's got a very good qualifying performance so far. P3, about 2/10 away from the pole man, which is Daniel Edmonds at the moment. He had fantastic pace in round 1 at Sebring. Fortunately had the night of horrors at Indianapolis, so he'll be looking to bounce back. Last round's winner, Adam Blocker, currently sits 2nd over Thomas Hinds in 4th, Reesmar Jets 5th, and reigning champion Cameron Dance in P6. There's not much between them, only 4/10 separating the top 6.
A little bit of a lock-up for Tim Vaughan coming into 7A and 7B. That's one of the corners to watch over the course of the night. Got to climb over the curbs to get the best line through it, but very easy to lock up the tyres in these Indy cars. And look at the wheel work for Tim Vaughan. That's a bit of a slide. Gets into the wall. He'll have to make his way back into the pits from there. I think he will still have enough steering to make his way back into pit lane, but it's going to be tough. Pit entry at Barber is another one of those places we need to watch because it is tight.
Yeah, it certainly is. And even in these narrower cars, it's very difficult, especially with the speed you're carrying through turn number 14 as well. So be a bit awkward, especially if there's potentially a safety car with a lot of guys coming in at the same time. It could get a little hairy in that pit lane entry. Here's Adam Blocker, the round winner from 2 weeks ago in Indianapolis on the road course. Was super impressive all night long. Pole position, won the race, really looked in control the whole time out there, and very impressive debut in the series. We've already seen his 5th in the point standings with just that one win, so he'll be hoping for another massive result tonight to even further his progress in this championship.
Yeah, Adam Blocker is one of the best IndyCar drivers on iRacing, has competed for many seasons in the Lionheart IndyCar series, and is a multiple champion in that. So if you want a lesson on how to drive an IndyCar around Barber Motorsports Park, you can watch Adam Blocker around that lap. Thomas Hinds, meanwhile, still 4th place for the time being. Drivers struggling to improve on the initial times that they've been setting. It's a reasonably warm track out there. Excuse me, 27 degrees Celsius track temperature. It's fully overcast, so not much sun hitting the racetrack. Should be nice conditions for the drivers to maximize their grip out there. Seeing some improvements further down in the field. Brady Carr just improved from 23rd to 20th. We're looking at Stuart Vaughan right now, who seems is having some technical issues. That's not good. Hopefully he pops back in at some point. We'll keep an eye on the new signing for Drop Bear Motorsport as well. Dylan Walker, he competed in the first 2 rounds as a privateer, and we know him from his exploits in the Suit Speed Sports Car Series too. The Drop Bear Motorsport decided to bring him into the fold to really increase their chances in this series.
Yeah, I think it's a really good sign. He's been impressive the first 2 weeks, and obviously a Tuesday regular with running the Sud Speed series as well, and alternating Tuesdays with this series. There's a massive crash there for one of the DPR cars with debris all over the racetrack, and another Simbrix.com DPR car, Reesmar Jets, goes straight through the debris. Thankfully, it doesn't affect him. We see an improvement from him, slight improvement for Mar Jets. Won't gain him in position at all. He'll currently still say position number 5.
Yeah, it just goes to show how difficult it is to make an improvement around this lap. The corners come thick and fast. There's Cameron Dance, who's just improved to 3rd overall. Very nicely done from the reigning champion of the series. As a race on Oscar, very slow there. That's the number 36 of Joe Mahoney, who has had some good exploits in V8s over the last month or so. Won the first round of V8 Scott Support's V8s at Montreal for the first round of that championship, but seems that the IndyCar is not treating him as nicely. Checkered flag is out, and it's going to be up to drivers like Chris Ireland here to finish their laps, decide their final runs onto the grid. The number 23 off. That's a big shame there for Chris Ireland. So Ryan Jones was the other DPR car that we saw spun.
Hands off too.
Yeah, okay. So further improvements not coming for a lot of drivers here. We noticed that Adam Blocker has also managed to grab pole position by a 10th. So that's going to be a big warning sign to everybody in this field. Robert Baxter is going to be one of the last drivers to cross the line, and it's not going to be an improvement for the 007. So with that, we wait for the last few drivers to complete their runs around this lap and go through the grid for this 3rd round of Fixed Indy Australia, of course presented by Aussie Online Gaming. The number 78 of Adam Blocker will start on pole position once again. Daniel Edmonds alongside him, and Edmonds will be looking for some redemption after some mistakes at Indianapolis. Cameron Dance starting in 3rd place alongside Timothy Vaughan, who is another driver looking for redemption after mistakes last round. Thomas Hinz will start alongside Reese Margetts. That's Jinx Shifters and DPR there on the 3rd row. Dylan Walker putting his new signing to good use with 7th place alongside Delta Sports' Harry Lawrence. And then Christopher Ireland and Ryan Jones will round out the top 10 once more for DPR.
Another DP car starting in position number 11th will be Scott Keselowski alongside his teammate. So it's 2 rows of DPR cars with Bailey Evans starting in position number 12. Michael O'Brien starting 13th, and our very own Scott Rankin will start position number 14. Dwayne Burns and Tyson Broad will share row number 8, 15th and 16th. Peter Baxter and Atsushi Osafune will start 17th and 18th. Stuart Vaughan and Brady Carr will round out the top 20, and the rest of the group will be Brody Shepherd and Dean Jacobson, followed by Joe Mahoney and Greg Patrick, and rounding out the grid will be Robert Baxter. I believe Mark Cochran will be the last of the 26 cars. Cochran did not set a lap in qualifying, so he is on the grid though, so we'll get 26 cars as we got a full pace lap ahead of us race before we go green flag racing.
Yep, rolling start in IndyCar, so the drivers will have time to suss out the track conditions coming into the race here. The track temp has dropped from qualifying. It's down to 23 degrees Celsius, and look at that, we have graphics now to show you which tires everyone is on. So Chris Ireland starting on the alternate tire. We also see that Joe Mahoney and Robert Baxter have decided to start the race on the softer compound. Interesting to note also that the clouds have cleared up from qualifying. It's sunny now, Brady. That means that potentially the alternate starting runners may have to pit a bit earlier than we'd otherwise expect.
Very well could be the case, Reese, with a bit more track temp. Obviously, the track temp has dropped down because we're now 10 a.m. in the morning, but I would believe with the more sun out that we will get a hotter track as the race goes on. So it'll be interesting to see guys like Chris Ireland. He's starting P9. The next guy to be on the alternate tyre is Dean Jacobson, 22nd. Robert Baxter, 25th. So I believe there's only 3 guys on that alternate tyre, so it'll be very interesting for those 3. We've usually seen about 7 to 8 guys start on the alternate tyre in previous 2 weeks, but only 3 this week, so it might be a questionable strategy, or it could be a very winning strategy in the end. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think the reason that so many drivers have decided to go for the primary is because this track is very hard to pass on. If you're on the alternates, you're going to be faster for the first 3 laps, but when everyone's compressed together, you're trying to stake out some space around this racetrack. completing a move will be more difficult than you'd otherwise expect compared to other flatter road courses like Indianapolis and Sebring that we hosted the first 2 rounds at. So I think the aim in terms of strategy for majority of competitors is to go as long as you possibly can on the harder compound and then switch to the alternates once everyone's spaced out. You can try and undercut, get some clear air, maximize the pace of those tires, and that will net your positions later on.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what everyone does in that second stint, whether everyone stays on the primary tyre for a second stint, then end the race on the alternates, or will some people take a bit of a gamble and go onto the alternate tyre for a short second stint, then the primary on the last stint. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at the first round of pit stops. But for Chris Island, especially some position number 9 on those alternate tyres, he'll have to try and make some hay, but you touched on it, it's very difficult to get a move done around here. So I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't make too much progress throughout this field, because he does have some really fast guys ahead of him. So it'll be interesting to track the progress of the number 23 in the opening stages of this race.
Yep, keep your eyes on Christopher Ireland, only driver in the top 10, starting on the alternate compound. Everyone else on the harder primaries. So Adam Blocker will be the one controlling the start once the pace car pulls into the pits. I would expect him to gain a massive advantage. It's exactly what he did at Indianapolis. He managed to get that last time in qualifying in at just the right moment and put Daniel Edmonds a 10th down. Edmonds, of course, a very quick driver indeed, so we'll need to monitor him and see how much he pushes Blocker in the early stages. Who's going to use a lot of their push-to-passes early as well? We've seen a few drivers back in the field trying to make use of them. But we'll put all of that to the side for now as we get ready for the first lap here. Blocker is away early. The green flag flies. And fixed Indy Australia round 3 from Barber is go. Into turn 1. Cameron Dance already pushing hard. He has passed Daniel Edmonds into second. Timothy Vaughan was briefly off the track at turn 1. He is fighting for 3rd place with Thomas Hins. A lot of jostling back in the pack. I see Stuart Vaughan and Brady Carr losing positions. Couple of spinners back there as they make their way into turn 5. Thomas Hins getting the better exit there from Timothy Vaughan, and 4th place is his for the time being. Side by side further down the field. That's a move completed by Ireland on Dylan Walker. Ireland already up 2 spots on the softer compound.
Yeah, really good start there for Chris Ireland on the soft tyres, doing what he has to do, get positions early, but big bold move down the inside for Dance on that start to get into second in front of Daniel Edmonds, and now he can try and stay with Adam Blocker, try and get a little bit of slipstream, in fact maybe save a little bit of fuel if he can, but these guys are pushing so hard, about 66-second lap times, 67-second lap times around this circuit. As we have one off, I think that's Michael O'Brien out wide. Unfortunately, he's going to drop a few positions from where he started. Adam Blocker will lead the first frantic lap. I can't believe how fast this race is going so far, Reese.
Yeah, that's incredible. That is a lap at Barber Motorsports Park. It's over in 1 minute and 11 seconds when you're going off the rolling start. Ireland's still on the chase here. He's got his teammate Reese Margetts in front of him, and then Vaughan, Hins and Edmonds. Our top 2 haven't quite broken away just yet. Adam Blocker not breaking away as much as I expected, as there's a move at turn 5 up to the inside. Tried Scott Rankin on Peter Baxter. That's the 2 teammates making their way down there. Joe Mahoney currently 19th place, already moving up as well. But Michael O'Brien, I mean, we're expecting that he'll be able to work his way up, but he did not have a good start. He topped the practice times, did Michael O'Brien. He's certainly capable of a lot more there, and Daniel Edmonds certainly capable of keeping his car on the track when the rear end goes on you.
Yeah, this track is very, very difficult to try and keep the tyres under you.
Big crash. Just seen a massive crash. Joe Mahoney off the track. Race on Oils number 36. Sorry to talk over you there, Brady. It looks like Mahoney lost it in front of Brady Carr, who was already having issues on the first lap, and that has created a lot of drama.
Yeah, that was at turn number 13, Reese. Just done it all on his own. Just got on the grass. Unfortunately, and Brady Carr clipping him on the way through. So I want to have a quick look at Brady Carr's car, see if he has much damage. Yeah, he's got no front wing on the left-hand side, Brady Carr, so he'll have to go off strategy now, get that fixed, because he has massive damage to that number 69, Joe Mahoney. I believe he's stuck on the pit lane entry. Will we get a safety car here, Reese, or will they allow him to tow, because he is a little bit out of the way there?
Yeah, I think he's far enough off the track that race control won't call a safety car for that, but well, we'll have to leave it up to the crew at AOG to get that done. Our usual race director, Dan Yeaman, is absent. He's working for Next Level Racing at Albert Park right now. So we have still Isaac Edwards, Tom Wilkinson, and Matt Morris in the race control booth for this one. Should be able to do a good job in Dan Yeaman's absence. So, fastest lap for Daniel Edmonds so far. Edmonds is looking to try and get back past Cameron Dance as Adam Blocker is streaking away at the front of this field. And there's a big move by Edmonds to the inside at turn 5. Dance saw him coming, gives him room, but has the outside. Wider exit, straighter exit. Dance should be able to keep this position coming into turn 7.
Yeah, Dance had the inside there for turn number 7, so he'll be safe for right now, but it looks like Edmonds got some really good pace, and Thomas Hins is also running with Daniel Edmonds at the moment, so the second through to fourth are very tight at the moment. Timothy Vaughan can't quite stay with Thomas Hins at the moment. You see a few guys who potentially had damage from the opening exchanges in the pit lane already, so those guys will be on the back foot already. Robert Baxter, he's got a rear wing missing, so he's going to be in the pit lane for quite a while. Stuart Vaughan's had some issues, also Joe Mahoney was clear to tow, so we'll stay clean and green so far. We're already starting lap number 5, Reese.
Bailey Evans just made his way past Harry Lawrence there in the background, and now we keep our eye on Dylan Walker to see if he can make any kind of impression on the top 7. He's catching up to Chris Ireland now. It is the 5th lap, so the prime phase of the alternate tyres should be over by now. Ireland's pace will drop off now. He'll be similar to what everyone else is on the harder primaries. The softer compound is faster, but only for a few laps. Still, I think Ireland's going to be happy that he made up 2 positions at the very least in these opening laps, because now everyone needs to get into the rhythm. Trains are forming, and you thought it was difficult to catch up to someone, passing them is entirely different. IndyCar, they do produce a lot of their downforce through the floor, so you can follow a bit closer through the corners, but there's so many corners around here, and there is still some aero disturbance to deal with, so putting a move on someone much harder than you think.
Yeah, unlike the racing in Formula 1 race, you can see how close Daniel Edmonds is to the back of Cameron Dance. He's right under his rear wing all the way through that whole last lap, so you can follow really closely. But like you said, getting him moved on is a completely different thing. Chris Ireland does the fast up the race at 108.2, but he has already used 3 push to pass on that alternate tyre, trying to get moved on as Reese Jets has a look down the inside of Timothy Vaughan. Vaughan runs a little bit wide there at the hairpin at turn number 5, but Marjets won't have enough overlap to get anything done, so we'll have to see what the pace is for Ireland in the next couple of laps. He's staying with Marjets right now, but will that alternate tyre drop off in the next few laps? At the moment, still got some pretty good pace.
Yeah, seems like it. I might have called the drop-off in pace a little too early there. Ireland's still looking very fast. There's a bit of a gap forming now in the top 7. That attempted move by Marjets on Vaughan ultimately cost them time to Thomas Hins up ahead. So it's going to be up to them to drive a little bit faster, work on their corner exits, and make the gap up that way. Because at this circuit, it's really demonstrated in full view just how important it is to gear your car up for the exit of a corner.
Yeah, 100% right, Street. Exit drive is very crucial around this place to try and keep yourself vulnerable for the next corner. As Daniel Edmonds had a pretty good run there off turn number 3 through 4, but he's not quite close enough for a move at 5. We've seen Adam Blocker at Indianapolis 2 weeks ago streak away with it, but not this week. There's only, I'm having a look, 3 seconds separating the top 8. Absolutely remarkable. This is Robert Baxter, I believe, in the CX2 car. This is probably how he got his damage earlier on.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, just front to rear contact for Baxter, and that's what sent him into the pit lane. I believe he's back out there, Robert Baxter. He will continue on, but unfortunately he's already 1 lap down.
Oh, and there's a spinner, Mark Cochran, who did not set a lap in qualifying. Unfortunately, the Apex Esports League car is down and out for the time being. No damage on the car from what I can see. Looks to me like it was contact with Greg Patrick at turn 5 that switched him around. So, looking at race control, the incident between Robert Baxter and Brody Shepherd. Shepherd was the car that made rear-end contact with Baxter and took his rear wing off. Deemed a racing incident by race control. So no penalties for anyone just yet. We'll see how far we get into the race before we see stuff like that. Potentially some desperate dives later on.
Brady Carr also in the pits as well. He had a really rough time in the first stint. He has a front wing missing, which he did have from that incident with Joe Mahoney earlier in the race. Drivers do have 1 class repair available, so I'm sure he will take that. He's gone onto the alternate tyre as well, so we'll have to see what happens with Brady Carr's progress for the rest of the race. This is the move from Patrick on Cochran. Just got it down the inside, but didn't quite get up far enough. Unfortunately, gets in the left rear of Cochran, spins him out, and that will set him back. So there might be something for race control to look at as Brady Carr comes out of the pits, and he'll be just ahead of the leaders, who are now starting lap number 9 already. This race is flying by.
Yeah, truly it is. We are almost a fifth done with this 55-lap race. And you're right, Adam Blocker has not broken away from everyone as much as I thought he would. I mean, his race at Indianapolis was incredible. Once he got into the lead, there was no stopping him. He was making up bulk time on everyone every single lap. But it looks like everyone's having a much better time keeping up with him here at Barber. Obviously, a lot more work for the driver to do around here. It is a driver's circuit, is Barber. And I think Cameron Dance is appreciating having someone to chase.
Yeah, it's a fantastic battle up the front. There is absolutely nothing between them. I touched on it before. There's 3 seconds separating the top 8 all the way back to Dylan Walker in 8th place. So I think strategy will play a massive part in this race. Who will be the first to pit out of this trio, because there's nothing in between them. There's nothing between these guys whatsoever. Whoever will be the first to blink will play a massive part in this race, and there is a redress coming in from race control from car 77, which is Greg Patrick, with Mark Cochran, number 15. So there's 9 seconds separating them at the moment, so Patrick will slow down, let Mark Cochran by, and they'll continue on for another day.
Yeah, it's a lot of time to be lost for Greg Patrick, though. He'll be hoping that there's a safety car later on to allow him to catch up to everyone else and potentially try something different on the strategy to elevate himself back up. This is the rear view from Adam Blocker on top of the side pod. See how much heat is being generated by these twin-turbo V6 engines. It's fantastic to see. And also get a sense for just how stiff the car is, how much speed you're carrying through these corners, how accurate you have to be. Because, man, some of these curbs, they can be very wide and pretty prominent, or they can be flat but very narrow. And when you're going through a turn at something approaching 190 k's an hour, man, it's tough.
It's probably not the car I'd want to be hitting curbs in too often, so can very easily damage the floor, front wing of your cars if you hit one incorrectly. So I imagine drivers will be staying away from the curbs as much as they can, at least the ones that have a bit of elevation to them. The flatter ones, obviously, you can use, as Edmonds closing in again on Cameron Dance, but not quite close enough again to make a move at turn 5, which we pointed out pre-race, probably one of the main passing opportunities. I don't think we've seen one move really there all race long.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of attempted moves, hasn't there? But the nature of the corner plays into that. It opens up on the exit, much like this corner here does at turn 8. So if you're on the outside, you can straighten up the car a bit earlier and get a better exit. It's a good place to watch side-by-side racing, but you know, around the rest of the circuit, it's so difficult to attempt a move. Pretty much every corner entry here, apart from turn 5, is quick.
Yeah, 100%. That's definitely the slowest part of the track, and also through the 14-15 complex. But even then, you're still carrying a fair bit of speed through those last couple of corners. So it's a very fast lap. We already touched on these guys are doing 1 minute 8 lap times as Brady Carr, who just came out of the pits, just in front of the lead, is on the alternate tyre, has done the fast lap of the race at 108.1. So Thomas Hinds now on the push to pass. He wants to try and get a move done on Daniel Edmonds. Big move potentially. Edmonds blocks it down the inside from Thomas Hinds. He'll aim for third, but Thomas Hinds, he's looking racy.
Yeah, he's starting to gear things up now, isn't he? I think he also sees that Timothy Vaughan is looking quick behind him too. Looking at the previous lap times, yeah, Timothy Vaughan is only a few hundredths of a second slower than Thomas Hinds, and Hinds is actually faster than the top 3 at the moment, only by a tenth or so, but it's enough to make a difference, make an impression. It's so difficult though to attempt a move here. You know, running side by side, you cost each other time at any circuit, but I think at Barber, that's exacerbated just because the corners come so thick and fast. Scott Rankin, meanwhile, down in 15th place. He's already used one of his push to passes, and look at the gap ahead of him here. It's a long way up to Michael Green.
I'm so distracted by that headshot, Reese. I can't concentrate. Oh my God. Lucky he's one of our own, so we can't give him too much grief, as he has a bit of a wobble on the exit of turn number 15 with Ryan Jones, another one of our SimSphere commentators, in behind him. So that battle will be raging on very shortly for position number 15. Both drivers on the primary tyre still go through their stint, and these guys will certainly be watching out for also Peter Baxter not far in behind them, as well as the battle for the top spot still raging on. Still absolutely nothing between them. If anything, it looks like Walker's maybe checked out another tenth or so on Dans, and probably the same for Dans to Edmonds potentially. But if so, there's not much in it whatsoever. Hinds is still staying right there with Edmonds, and Vaughan not too far behind. So we're about to finish lap number 13, and no one has even thought about coming to the pits yet. I think we'll probably start to see guys maybe around lap 20, I'm thinking, Reed.
Yeah, looking like it. It's usually 2 pit stops that's required in this series with the fuel tank restriction, this being a fixed setup, but also you've got to use both the alternate and primary compounds at some point during the race. So the question for drivers is, do you go for 2 stints on the primary, or do you go 2 stints on the alternate? I think drivers like this guy here, Chris Ireland, looking to make it 2 stints on the alternate. I think it would be smart for him to stay on the alternate here at the first pit stop and try and get an undercut.
Yeah, I would think so as well. I think he definitely has to pit early. There's a little bit of a lock-up ahead of him. I think he has to, on the alternate try and get on the primary tyre, get his tyres up to temperature a little bit quicker. He might be able to jump his teammate Reese Margetts, but that's a bit of an if for Chris Ireland. He still has to try and push. I wouldn't think he'd have too much life left in those alternate tyres.
Daniel Edmonds, meanwhile, we saw a trace of this just a moment ago. A lock-up on the way into turn 7. Oh, dear. He almost rear-ended Cameron Dance there. That has cost him a bit of time, and it's brought him under attack from Thomas Hinds coming into the first couple of turns, but no quarter given. Daniel Edmonds will stay in third for the time being, but Hinds is gearing up a move here. You can tell he's looking for any opportunity he can, but he'll stick behind coming into turn 5.
The question I have in my mind, Reese, is someone like Thomas Hinds that potentially feels like he's getting held up just a little bit. Will he be one of the first ones to blink in pit first? This is Reese Margetts, who was in P6 and had a big off. He's now down to, I believe, position number 8 in behind Dylan Walker. So, unfortunately, he's lost a few spots there, Reese Margetts. He's lost a little bit of time to the train, so we can say the top 7 now separated by 3 seconds. Unfortunately, Margetts another 1.3 seconds away. So, yeah, like I was saying, Reese, who'll be the first one to blink? I'm thinking it might be Hinds. I think he has a bit more pace than Edmonds overall so far in the first 15 laps. So I'm thinking he might be the first one to take that first pit stop.
We'll see how that turns out. We saw Cameron Dance as well have a little wiggle on the exit of the final corner. That's allowed Adam Blocker to build up a car length or 2 more in the gap for the lead. It also means that Dance is falling under attack from Edmonds and Hinds. Proper 3-way battle for second, 4-way if you count Timothy Vaughan in this as well. so quick, all of these drivers. So much talent on screen in a single frame. Dance actually making up some time on Daniel Edmonds coming out of turn 5, but the entry into turn 7 looks like that's where Edmonds is at his strongest. You saw that he completely eliminated that gap.
Yeah, the last time by, Edmonds was actually 4/10 faster than Cameron Dance on that last time by, so is maybe Dance struggling with tyres just a little bit. So looks like Edmonds has a lot of pace at the moment. He's trying to stay away from Thomas Hinds, who's had some really good pace as well. The track temp as well, up to 26 degrees. So I predicted with the sun out, it would get hotter, and it currently is up 3 degrees track temp. So the tyres will start to hurt a little bit more than what they would have at the start of the race.
I'm just beholding the strategy that drivers take through turns 2 and 3. It's one of those corners you can double apex. It's effectively one long corner, but you have to go middle of the road in the center of the complex. It's always interesting to see as that's an issue there for Chris Ireland. Looks like he went off at turn 1 and ultimately continued through turn 2. So it looks like, well, he hasn't lost any positions out of that. Oh, he lost 1 position out of that, unfortunately. So he's back to 7th now. But that's what happens when you get on the brakes a bit too late for turn 1. Well held, though.
Yeah, that's a really nice save there for Ireland, and lost the spot there to Dylan Walker. So that was for position number 6 on the road. And maybe those alternate tyres are starting to hurt just a little bit. But lap time-wise, honestly, Chris Ireland's really not that far away. We'll exclude this lap because he had that big mistake. But overall, his pace isn't really that bad compared to everyone else. He's within a 10th of the rest of the top 6, so I don't think the alternate tyre is really playing out that badly compared to the primary tyre at the moment.
Yeah, seems that way. A lot of work being put into these tyres, a lot of sliding, I think, as well, for the prime tyre, being the harder compound, a bit less grip available and takes a bit longer to come up to temperature. Still no sign of a move for anyone in the top 5, but they are just waiting for the pit stop cycle to come around, I think. Looking further back in the field, Harry Lawrence and Bailey Evans. Lawrence down 2 positions, Bailey Evans up 3. He's had a pretty good race so far, but he has to keep an eye out for teammate Scott Kozlowski and Drop Bear's Tyson Broad up behind him. This is a big battle for 9th place. The cars are spaced out quite a bit, but that can mean very little in the grand scheme of things around a track like this.
Yeah, and the back of that group is also Michael O'Brien, who started the race in position number 13. That's Vaughan trying to go around the outside of Thomas Hinds at turn number 3. That's a very bold move, but he's going to have the inside for 5. Hinds isn't going to cover him. Will this be a move for position? Vaughan down the inside. Hinds will give him the space.
Lovely.
And that is position number 4 for Timothy Vaughan. Great driving between both drivers there.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. It all started when Hinds almost went into the back of Daniel Edmonds coming into turn 1. This is the replay of it. So, yeah, you see right there, Hinds had a bit of a panic moment and had to back out of it. And pouncing was Timothy Vaughan to take advantage of that. Very nicely done indeed from the number 74.
And leaders are now in lap traffic race. Adam Boyd coming up to the back of Mark Cochrane. This could get a bit awkward. Cochrane goes into the pit lane. Pretty smart move, I think, for Cochrane. Unfortunately, he gets in the wall on the pit entry, but probably done the smartest thing. He was in a really awkward spot there with the race leaders. And they're not too far away from Brady Carr as well, who's already made his first pit stop. He's now on the alternate tyre. So that has compressed the top 7 cars right back up again. And it's going to be on to the race lead. It's been on, honestly, all race. So looks like Edmonds going to put the nose down the inside again, but not quite close enough again. He checks up Timothy Vaughan a little bit there in the middle of the corner. Vaughan gets really good exit drive there on the exit of 5B through 6, but into 7, still not close enough to make a move. You've got to be very bold to try and make a move at turn number 7.
Indeed you do. You basically got to be right alongside the car you're attempting to pass by the time you get to the turn-in point. Otherwise, there's no chance of it unless your rival makes a mistake. Here we go then into the diving final corners. Proper fight here with Dylan Walker trying to catch up to Hinz and Vaughan up ahead. No sign of anyone coming into the pits just yet, but that little encounter with Mark Cochran certainly compressed them for a couple of moments. It looks like Adam Blocker has gotten right back on it though. He's managed to keep the gap to Cameron Dance, who runs a little bit wide through turns 2 and 3. That might put him under danger from a move from Daniel Edmonds, who's been trying to get this move done at turn 5 a few times in this race. It hasn't worked out for him just yet. He needs a little bit more confidence on the brakes, I think.
Interesting to note as well, the top 4 have not used a push to pass in this race so far. Thomas Hinz in P5, he's used 2 already. Dylan Walker hasn't used 1 either. Chris Island, starting on those alternate tyres, he's already used up 3, so he might be a little bit compromised later on in this race. So we'll have to keep an eye out on the push to passes throughout the rest of this race, but the top 4 at the moment, keeping them for the latter end of the race, which definitely helped Adam Blocker late in the piece last week when he was under pressure from Timothy Vaughan before that late safety car at Indianapolis, 2 weeks ago. He saved up all these push passes and used them when he needed them and got that security to take that race win. So smart strategy, I think, from the top 4 to save them up. And we're already on lap number 22. He's one of the DPR cars. Bailey Evans will be the first guy to come into the pits. He was position number 9 as he came in the pits. And looks like also Michael O'Brien entering the pit lane.
Yeah, it looks like a clean entry from the both of them from what I could see. Potentially a bit of drama for them a little bit earlier in the pit entry phase. But this will be our first look into what pit stop times look like here. They'll be topping up the fuel tank and bolting an extra set of tyres on. Looks like Michael O'Brien has decided to go for the alternate compound. So has Bailey Evans. Ryan Jones also coming into the lane as well. Jones having a very tough race, and it looks like he's going to stick it out here on the primary compound once again. So let's see what Jonesy can do. On our way through the rest of this race, we are almost at the halfway point. We'll reach it at lap 27. Around lap 27, lap 28. Have a look at this. More lap traffic for these guys. It's Brady Carr and Robert Baxter who are letting our leaders through, and that has once again compressed the battle for the lead. Adam Blocker is looking over his shoulder here at Cameron Dance as they're trying to work their way through these guys coming through turns 2 and 3. Brady Carr made things a bit difficult for Thomas Hinz. Okay, so Jay Kennedy's just notified us of clutch and coast here for Cameron Dance. I couldn't hear it on the prod feed. I have my volume down low, but it seems like Cameron Dance is in fuel-saving mode. Let's listen to it again.
Very interesting. I'm going to turn my sound up, Reece, so I can hear it as well. So coming up to turn number 5 for Cameron Dance. Yes, that is a clutch and coast. That's
Wow.
very interesting for Cameron Dance. Very skillful to be able to do that in these type of cars, but very interesting. I think he's trying to save a little bit of fuel to potentially undercut Adam Blocker just to try and get in front. We've seen how difficult it is to pass. And here comes Daniel Edmonds, first of the leaders, into the pit lane, and there'll be no one else following him in. So this will be the first key moment of the race. Daniel Edmonds coming into the pit lane. Will he go on the alternate tyre like his teammate Bailey Evans and also Michael O'Brien, or will he stay on the primary tyre like his other teammate Ryan Jones did? It'll be very interesting to see.
It will indeed. If Edmonds goes onto the alternates, expect everyone else in the top 10 to go for the alternates as well, and he has. Daniel Edmonds is on the alternate tyre, and he didn't quite get the best of exits out of the box. It looked like he might have stalled it just a little bit, but still, he's out, and that is kind of time we're looking at here. About 9.5 seconds is the run there for Daniel Edmonds. 32 seconds through the lane. Not the quickest lane time that we've seen. It was Dean Jacobson who had the quickest time through the lane earlier on. So let's see if anyone else responds here. Yep, there goes Thomas Hinz on the way into the
Island
lane.
too. Chris Island in pits as well from the alternates, and so is Reece Margette. So 3 of them in the lane this lap, and Kozlowski's in as well, and so is Tyson Broad. So we at least got 5 in Dwayne Burns, so we've got 6 cars in the pit lane. Will Rankin make it 7? Yes, he does.
All right, so DPR have decided to make their pit stops now. Everyone else staying out for the time being. Thomas Hinz comes to a stop in his box. So does Margetts, who gets the best run through the lane out of all of these drivers as we check out battling a bit further down. Thomas Hinz is going to win the race out of pit lane. Do they come out ahead of Daniel Edmonds?
He does.
Hinz has managed to gain the position on Daniel Edmonds, and he's gone for the alternate compound as well.
Be interesting to see, though. Hinz will have to try and get his tyres up to 10 on this lap, so he might be vulnerable for the first lap as they're racing. And there's an incident in the background. Tyson Broad, massive damage for Tyson Broad in the drop bear car. I think that was with one of the DPR cars. I'm trying to figure out who it was potentially. It was Bailey Evans, contact into the back of Michael O'Brien. He lost control and got in the side of Daniel Edmonds there.
Oh, wow. That's a big shame there for Bailey Evans. Thomas Hinz, meanwhile, on the attack here. He's on his push to pass. He wants to desperately try and stay ahead of Daniel Edmonds. This is the battle for effective 4th place. And Edmonds gets up the inside of Hinz in the second last corner, but nothing he can do to complete the move through the final corner. Gonna have to wait for turn 1 here. Thomas Hinz massively on the defensive here. Around the outside of turn 1 goes Daniel Edmonds, becomes the inside for turn 2. Brilliant racing between these two drivers. Hinz hooks up the exit. Edmonds has to give him room on the outside, and Hinz might be able to make his way back through at turn 5 if he's brave enough, but Edmonds covers it.
Edmonds goes for the move down the inside on Dylan Walker, who's jumped both these guys in the pit lane. So Dylan Walker, massive moment for him, jumping both Hinz and also Daniel Edmonds. We've seen that Hinz was vulnerable on that lap on the contours, and there goes Walker. He's gone.
That's massive for Walker. He keeps it out of the wall. That's fortunate for him. Cameron Dance makes his way into the pit lane. Adam Blocker is the only driver left to make a stop, our race leader. Here's the replay of what happened to the DPR car getting into the back there and hitting off the drop bear machine. Oh, man. A lot of drama going off here out of the pit cycle. Dylan Walker will be kicking himself for that mistake. Cameron Dance with a longer pit stop. Vaughan jumps him on the way out of the lane. So Timothy Vaughan now in effective 2nd place. This has turned into a very interesting race.
What's happened to Dylan Walker? Dylan Walker's had a moment as well, because he was in front of both.
Yeah, Walker was the car that he spun off just a lap ago.
Apologies.
You called it, mate.
I did. There's a few drop bear cars and DPR cars that get them all confused sometimes, but yeah, that's unfortunate for Dylan Walker. As I said, he made up all that ground in the pit stop, and unfortunately, but interesting to see Dan's obviously taking a little bit more fuel than Timothy Vaughan in that pit stop, so he might be a bit better off later on, but for now, he's got to try and chase Timothy Vaughan, as we do see Adam Blocker. He's still going on. We're starting lap 28, and the leader's still pushing on.
Yeah, well, Blocker's lap times aren't that bad compared to everyone else at the moment, as Vaughan is wide into the last couple corners. Dance is trying to pull a move on him here. Remember, Vaughan still trying to get his tyres up to temperature. Dance, I think, has been a bit more successful at that. Remember, they both pitted at the same time, and Dance on the push to pass down the front straight, gets it done at turn 1, but Vaughan gets sent off just a little bit coming through the first turn at Barber Motorsports Park. This is incredibly intense racing. Now Tim Vaughan has to look out behind, because Daniel Edmonds and Thomas Hinz have got the fire in their bellies.
Yeah, Dan's definitely got the elbows out there at turn 1. Nothing wrong with that. He had the move down the inside done, just ran the tiniest bit wide and put Vaughan in a vulnerable spot. Had to give up that position. So that's for effective 2nd and 3rd in this race, but now Daniel Edmonds closing right in, and so is Thomas Hinz. So it's a real 4-way fight for P2 at the moment, but the important thing is now Adam Blocker is in the pit lane, so we'll have to see where he comes out in comparison to these other drivers. We've seen guys that have gone earlier in the pit lane gain an advantage, so we'll have to see if Dance and Vaughan can potentially jump Adam Blocker in the pit lane here. Blocker is going to the alternate tyre, He's just dropped the jack, so it's going to be very close. It's a very slow getaway as well from Adam Blocker. 9.5 seconds, about 32 seconds in the lane. It's going to be very close on pit exit, but I think he's going to be Dance down the inside.
Yeah, Cameron Dance to the lead, and Adam Blocker down to third, now fourth, now fifth. He was very wide through turns 1 and 2. Oh, that is disastrous for the former race leader and pole position man, Adam Blocker. After coming away with the win in Indianapolis, now he has to fight his way back to the front.
Well, we've seen the Indianapolis race, remember, a lot of guys pitted for the alternate tyre came out and spun out in the first couple of corners, so it's obvious that these tyres do not turn on very quickly whatsoever. They take a few corners, maybe up to a lap to get up to temperature, and we've seen that every single time. A major example is Adam Blocker just had no grip for the first couple of corners coming out of the pit lane, now down to P number 5, so he's got a lot of hard work to do to try and gain back that time. He's already just over 2 seconds down the road from Cameron Dance, who's still under pressure from Timothy Vaughan, so it's going to be a very interesting second half of this race.
It is indeed. Adam Blocker was half a second slower through the pit lane than Cameron Dance was, and I think a big part of it was that delay in getting going after the car jumped off the jacks, and Dance immediately gets the fastest lap. He is on a charge. So are these guys, Ryan Jones, Scott Rankin, Harry Lawrence, and Peter Baxter. All three of these guys looking to gain something from this. Jones down 2 positions, Harry Lawrence down 6. Both of them had earlier dramas. Scott Rankin up 1 from where he started. Remember, all of these drivers have stuck to the primary compound. My apologies, brain just stopped working for a moment there. Yeah, Jones, Rankin and Lawrence still remaining on the primary. As far as the top 5 goes, they've all switched to the alternates. Christopher Ireland, who started on the alternate, now runs P6 on the primary, so on a bit of a reverse strategy to everyone else. Let's see if it pays off for him. Meanwhile, the lead, Cameron Dance versus Timothy Vaughan. It's been a great run for these two. They have broken away from 3rd, 4th and 5th. Adam Blocker remaining behind Thomas Hinz and Daniel Edmonds for the time being, still looking to get those tyres switched on. Is there going to be a move for Timothy Vaughan here? He gets a better run than Dance coming out of turns 2 and 3, and he almost has the overlap. Cameron Dance, okay, bit of 3 wide with Tyson Broad, lapped car, who's recovering from some damage, but Timothy Vaughan took advantage of that to the lead for the 74.
Yeah, it was a fantastic move from Timothy Vaughan. He jumped the curb massively there for Timothy Vaughan. No damage on my end by the look, so he got away with that, but he went monster trucking over that curb, which not ideal in these cars. Get your heart racing race. What a move from Timothy Vaughan at turn number 5. Used the lap car to his advantage and now has the lead over Cameron Dance. But remember, Timothy Vaughan was 1 second less in the pit lane, so it might all even out later on as the move again at turn number 5 thanks to Bowler Media. Fantastic move just to pit Dance to the outside there with the lap car. Really, Dance had really no choice. He couldn't cut off Timothy Vaughan because it would have just been a massive accident. So really good driving from both drivers as Timothy Vaughan on that entry curb into turn number 7. Jumped it massively, and so did another car in the background as well. Might have been Brody Shepherd potentially.
Yeah, Brody Shepherd lapped car behind all of these guys. Actually, it might have been Tyson Broad who had just let all of our leaders go. I'm amazed that Vaughan was able to hold on to that because, man, that was a lot of curb. Like I said, too much for that section of the circuit. Chris Ireland, though, holding off his teammate Reese Margetts here. The primary compound working out very nicely for Ireland here, but Dylan Walker in the drop bear car behind them on the alternate right now, looking to recover from that spin he had earlier. I think, Dylan Walker, he would have been part of the battle for the lead if things had gone his way. Spin through turn 7 notwithstanding.
Yeah, well, he came out of the pit when Edmonds and Hinz came out of the pits because he was the first guy to pit. He was actually in P3, so he'd still be in around P3, P4 right now. So it's unlucky for Walker. He's had some really good pace tonight, seen behind Reese Margetts at the moment. So we'll see if he can make up any more ground. The remainder of this race still going on between Hinds and Edmonds haven't left each other alone all race long, and now Adam Blocker is buying into as well. He's closed that gap to the third and fourth place guys. Timothy Vaughan, though, 1.5 seconds ahead of Cameron Dances. Edmonds goes really wide through the grass. That might leave him vulnerable here to Thomas Hinds, and he does. I think he's got to slow down Daniel Edmonds.
Yeah, that's a shame there. A little bit too much of the grasses. Oh, no. That's Scott Rankin, who's missing some piece of bodywork from his car. Don't know what's gone wrong for him coming through turns 1 and 2, but falling down to 16th place. That's Brodie Shepherd up ahead of him, who's just assumed that position. We will see how this worked out for him. So out of the final corner, he was already a little bit off. Remember, he was involved in the fight with Jones, Lawrence, and Baxter, but oh no. Yeah, right.
Was that Szylorski in the DPR car? I believe. Was it
No,
Jones?
it
It
was
was Ryan
Jones.
Jones. Apologies.
Looks like Harry Lawrence also going for a massive adventure there through the grass, and so that bit of debris that we saw was Ryan Jones's front wing, at least the right section of it, and he's immediately going to go for the pits to get that repaired. I would imagine this is his opportunity to switch to the alternate. He'll have to spend a lot of time on that tyre going towards the end, but he doesn't really have a choice. You have to use both tyre compounds over the course of a race.
And Rankin's also had a spin come out of the last corner as well, Races. He's now damaged his front wing. Just lost the control. I think there might have been previous damage to that car because he just lost the rear end completely. And he's got front end damage as well on the left front. So, unfortunately, Scott Rankin's night has gone from bad to worse at the moment.
Yeah, look at how much he's struggling to get the car through the turns there. Something's very wrong with that machine. It's a very awkward place for it to happen too, because he has to make his way around the entire lap to get that fixed. Well, time to go forward a little more to the front of the field here.
Robert Baxter spun.
Okay, that's a bit of a heart attack moment for our race leaders. Baxter lost it on his own coming into turn 5, but they all managed to make their way past him properly. Adam Blocker, meanwhile, in the midst of all of this, has gone past Daniel Edmonds, and it seems that he is on a charge. He's gearing up for a run on Thomas Hinds here.
He's making up some really good ground at the moment. Got the move done on Edmonds. Got through that lap car as Scott Rankin exit stage left to try and get out of the way with that damaged race car. Big moment there with Baxter spun out, and Dylan Walker now calling into race control, trying to see what potentially might have happened there. Might have just been a lap car. I think it was Robert Baxter. Impeded him a little bit, so I don't think there's too much in that as Scott Rankin finally make it back to the pit lane, but looks like now Thomas Hinds starting to make up ground to Cameron Dan, 3/10 that last lap by, and potentially Dan's struggling a little bit in this middle stint of this race on the alternate tyre race.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he's let Timothy Vaughan get away. The gap's ballooned out to 2.5 seconds for Timothy Vaughan. He's absolutely untouchable right now. Very interesting to see.
This looks like Dan's just struggling for overall grip at the moment, so maybe the alternate tyre is just not playing in his favour. We've seen how much pace he had earlier on in the race, staying right with Adam Blocker on that Blackwood primary tyre. Now just struggling a little bit, and now under pressure from Thomas Hinds, and Adam Blocker is on the move as well as Daniel Edmonds. So Dance might be under threat very, very soon. Wouldn't be surprised if he continues to struggle and lose time to Vaughan, that he will get on the primary tyre a little bit sooner than you'd expect.
Something that you viewers might notice if you're paying attention to the timing tower, both our leader, Tim Vaughan, as well as 4th place Adam Blocker, have yet to use any of their push-to-passes. So if Tim Vaughan's pace is this good right now, what's it going to be like later on? As that was a big mistake for Cameron Dance. Coming out of turn 2, he has to give up the position to Hinds. He's going to fight it back into turn 5. Is this too much for the Orbit Motorsports driver? Hinds almost getting run into by Blocker in the midst of all of it. This gives another chance for Daniel Edmonds to make up some time. Everyone is together here in the battle for second.
This is absolutely fantastic battle. All race, long race, where on lap number 37, we're 19 laps ago, and this race has been phenomenal. And Timothy Vaughan continues to streak away. 3.2 seconds up the road. He's busting out some incredible lap times. The last lap was at 108.0, so he's at least 2/10 quicker than the guys in behind him. So he's just pulling away every single lap. He's doing a fantastic job, and Dance really looks like he's under pressure here from Thomas Hinds, who's broken away maybe slightly to Blocker on that last lap, but there's still nothing between these four drivers battling from second all the way through to fifth.
Dylan Walker, meanwhile, something's gone wrong for him. This is coming into turn 7, and drivers fanning out in front of him. That was unfortunate. Looks like he just got caught up in maybe some kind of miscommunication between the DPR cars there. That's obviously not what you want to see. Walker back down to 11th place. Race control deemed no further action for that incident. So we keep our eyes here with 18 laps to go on Adam Blocker and all of those around him. Blocker is the blue car in the center of the frame. Cameron Dance running second at the front of this train. He's been struggling for grip these last few laps. Blocker, it seems, struggling a little bit as well. Daniel Edmonds right on the back of him now, coming into the last couple of corners. Did Blocker make a mistake?
He might have potentially, he's lost probably another car length or two already to Thomas Hinds. That last lap, Edmonds was 2/10 quicker than Adam Blocker, so we'll see what the times are this time by. Edmonds does a 108.4, 108.5 for Blocker, a 108.4 for Hinds, a 108.1 for Cameron Dance, and the race leader Timothy Vaughan, a 107.9. So that's how fast that 74 Vermilion car is going at the moment. Unfortunately, another DPR car, it's Bailey Evans, who's been in the wars tonight as well, and there's our race leader Timothy Vaughan. He is streaking away, lead up to 3.7 seconds now.
Yeah, that's incredible, especially considering he's still got 10 push-to-passes in hand. The fastest car on track that time by, though, Michael O'Brien. Remember I mentioned that O'Brien topped practice? Well, he certainly got this track down, and he set a 107.85 on that lap. Of course, it doesn't officially count for the fastest lap because I think he got an off track over the course of that lap, but still, look out for Michael O'Brien. He might be a candidate for the top 6.
Michael O'Brien's had some really good pace. Unfortunately, he was involved in an incident earlier in the race. I believe he dropped down to about position number 20. He's now gone up to 7th as he enters the pit lane right on cue. But yeah, Michael O'Brien's had some fantastic pace to get back up to where he has in this race, as Thomas Hinds, we just had on screen, still right on Cameron Dance for that second position. He's down the inside. This might be a move at turn 5. Look, I think he's already got it done, Reese. Down the inside, Dance will fight it around the outside. Hinds will get the drive traction on the inside. They're going to be side by side on the exit, but it looks like Hinds will have the move done, but he's going to be on the outside here for 7. Will Dance have enough overlap into 7? He does. Brave from both drivers there.
Too deep.
And Dance runs a little bit wide, but he isn't compromised too much on the exit. He will stay in front, but what a exchange there between those two drivers for the second spot.
Dance got caught up in the marbles at turn 5. That stymied his run a little bit, but it seems like he's very confident on the brakes. And remember, Cameron Dance and Thomas Hinds on very good terms with each other. They've raced with each other for years at this point. They know exactly how much to give and how much to take. Awesome to see. And one thing this has also done is it's brought Adam Blocker right into the fold for the battle for second. It seems like Blocker has not gotten the best exit from the final turn, but see how he catches them up over the course of this lap as Dance and Hinds continue to battle. Neither of them on the push to pass for the time being, but Hinds could be gearing it up here. No, he decides to stay back a little further, but Dance runs wide by himself. He does protect the position, though, only for a few more moments. Things are really starting to heat up in the battle for runner-up.
We've just had something interesting come in from our producer, Jay, that we have a theory. This could be wrong, but we think Cam Dance potentially, with that coasting earlier on we've seen in this race, he could be fuel saving to do a one-stop race.
Yes.
That's the only thing that makes sense, because Timothy Vaughan is fast. Don't get me wrong, as Timothy Vaughan actually comes. There's Dance on the grass. Will he hold on position from Thomas Hinds? He will. Fantastic driving. And leader Timothy Vaughan's now coming to the pit, so there's so much going on here on lap number 41 of this race.
Look at this, Hins again with a better exit than Dance. He'll go up the inside at turn 1, and Cameron Dance will lose second place. How hard will he fight back? He's wide. Adam Blocker sees the door open on the inside, but there's nothing he can do. Dance gets a much better exit round the outside and keeps the most recent race winner behind. Has to go defensive versus Daniel Edmonds, who's now putting his hand up and saying, yes, I can get into this fight again too.
Fantastic exchange once again between Dance and Hins through that opening session. We've seen Hins on the push to pass, but unfortunately for him, he only has 2 left in this race with 14 laps to go. Timothy Vaughan, he's now out of the pit lane. He's now just on the exit of turn number 5, so we'll see what happens with the rest of the field. We'll see if our theory of Cameron Dance potentially on a one-stop comes to fruition. We'll surely see some guys that are on a 2-stop come into the pits, and there goes Daniel Edmonds. So he's the next one to climb into the pits. So still Blocker, Dance and Hins of the leaders still yet to pit.
Indeed, and don't forget, Adam Blocker made it to past half race distance on that initial stint, so I don't see much sign of fuel saving from Blocker, but there is potential that he might be trying to make it a one-stopper as well. We'll have to wait and see on that. Everyone else pitted at least 2 or 3 laps earlier than he did, so keep an eye out for that. This is now the battle. Still, I think for effective second, maybe for the race lead. It all depends on who's saving fuel and who's not. Who's decided to go for a one-stopper, who is secure in a 2-stop strategy. This has turned out to be a very intriguing round of fixed Indy Australia.
It certainly has. I wasn't expecting coming into the race to have a potential one-stop strategy. I should probably do some more research so we know what we're talking about, but I didn't think we would have that because the first 2 races have certainly been a 2-stop races. Michael O'Brien down the inside there of Reese Margets. That's full position number 8 on the road, and O'Brien on the alternate tyre will get that move done. Interesting to know, Daniel Edmonds has also come out of pits, but he's a long way behind Timothy Vaughan. So of the guys that have pitted, Timothy Vaughan, massive advantage to him. The top 3 though, Hins, Dance and Blocker continuing on. With the pace that Hins showed and the eagerness to try and get past Dance, makes me think he might not be on a one-stop, but now that he's got the lead, he might be on a mega fuel save because now Dance is all over him, so it's going to be very interesting for these last 12 laps race.
Yeah, so we'll wait and see to the end of this lap, see if anyone else blinks. This is so interesting. I'm loving this race. Every single moment there's been something going on. Chris Ireland setting the fastest lap there. He's back on the alternate compound after spending the middle stint on the softs, and he is definitely in the top 6 now. Could he end up getting a top 5 is the question. He's currently about 5 seconds behind Daniel Edmonds, but Edmonds is also on the alternate compound. Who is going to do what? Can Chris Ireland make up that time and get into the top 5 after doing that interesting alternate strategy of starting on the alternates here at the start of the race? Thomas Hins is the driver who's been out there the longest out of our top 4. So I think Adam Blocker still has a little bit left to fight with in those alternate compound tyres that he's using. 2 laps younger than Dance, who's 2 laps younger than Hins, and it's showing there. Look at how much Cameron Dance is ranging up to the back of Hinsey.
Yeah, as my prediction, looks like Hinsey's probably the odd man out to try and make it on the one-stop, pitting 4 laps earlier than Adam Blocker. As we have a spin in the background, I believe it's Harry Lawrence who's down in 12th as well, so unfortunately he's had a spin in the Delta Sport machine, but I think Blocker and Dance are in good stead to make the one-stop work. I think there'll still be a question mark over Thomas Hins if he can make it on that one-stop. We're about to come to the line now with 10 laps to go. I think Hins now, he's committed. I think he's got to fight it out all the way and try and save as much as he can if he's at risk and try and hang on for a potential race win here.
Yeah, this is, oh man, if only I could see what's going on inside the heads of these drivers. If only we had live updates from pit garages on fuel numbers for the cars. Wouldn't that be interesting? For now, though, all we have to do is make inferences from the on-track action. And for the time being, it looks like Hinz is a lot stronger on corner exits than Dance is. Interesting to see because, these drivers are all running the same setups. Daniel Edmonds, meanwhile, has gotten the fastest lap 2 laps in a row. Look at the pace he's got. He ran 9/10 of a second faster than Timothy Vaughan on the previous lap.
That is absolutely remarkable pace from Edmonds, a 107.1. That is absolutely incredible. And for comparison, in qualifying trim, he did a 106.4. So really, that much further. And Edmonds actually has contact with Robert Baxter going into turn 7 and has the missing. No, I thought he did have a missing front wing. Apologise. He's still going, but there was massive contact there between Edmonds and Robert Baxter, the lap car.
Oh yeah, there was. It was massive. We might have to get a replay of that because, at the very least, that has rattled Daniel Edmonds. Post-race investigation for incident between Robert Baxter and another car, but this was it. Oh, Baxter, he was trying to get out of the way of Edmonds, but I think there was just a little bit of overlap between the cars, and Edmonds just clobbered the right rear of Baxter, sending him flying.
Yeah, it looked like there was potential latency there between those two drivers because I did see that Edmonds was missing his front wing for about a second or so, then it reappeared. So it makes me think that there was a bit of a gap there between. So this is a post-race investigation for Baxter. Baxters. The two Baxters come together. That's. Oh no, it is. I got Scott Rankin.
Yeah.
That's his teammate and Hinz in the pits. That's massive.
So Hinzy is not trying to go for the one stopper here. He was trying to use as much of the fuel as he possibly could. Only has 2 push-to-passes left to use over the last 8 laps. Cameron Dance still has 7. Adam Blocker here still has all of his push-to-passes to use. There goes Timothy Vaughan into 3rd place. Hinz just getting up to a start here. Daniel Edmonds, who's still recovering from that contact, will go by into 4th, but has this ruined Hinz's chances of a race win?
I think so. He's going to be way too far back, 26 seconds off Cameron Dance. And with the pace Daniel Edmonds has at the moment, it'll be very hard to catch him up, especially this first lap on cold tyres for Hinz. But he will have a few laps better at tyre advantage, 5 laps to be in fact, so he might push on later in the race. But now the guys we've got to watch will be Cameron Dance and Adam Blocker. We still believe they're on a one-stop strategy because they have not come in yet. We were suspecting that Hinz might be vulnerable. I think these guys have done enough saving throughout the race. I think it'll be very, very tight to make it home. The gap to Timothy Vaughan's 18 seconds, so they've got a bit to play with if you're Adam Blocker. But you're going to try and pass Cameron Dance, if you can, for the race win. So it's going to be very interesting in these last 7 laps race.
Yeah, and this adds a little bit more to the story from earlier. I mean, we were talking a lot earlier on about how Adam Blocker wasn't jetting away from everyone else like he did at Indianapolis, and I think the reason might be that he himself was fuel saving, preparing for the final moments of this race, that final chase on Cameron Dance. Chris Ireland, meanwhile, having taken his second pit stop 7 laps ago, well, unfortunately, he's had to give up the place there to Scott Kozlowski. Ireland, I think, had an issue at about this point here on the previous lap. Oh, through the dip. Unfortunately, the weight transfer putting paid to that. Good on him for keeping it out of the wall, though. That's
2 saves that he's done really well at tonight. Chris Ireland, he's had a big moment at turn 1 and kept it out of the wall, and he's done it once again in this race. Shout out also to Michael O'Brien. Massive recovery from him. Touched on it earlier. He had a incident earlier in the race. He was down to about 20th spot. He's now up to 6th. So fantastic drive from Michael O'Brien as we're on board with Dylan Walker in behind the DPR car of Reese Mudgetts. This is for P7. This will be very bold if he gets the move done across the curbing at turn number 11 and through 12. Won't get the move done there, but this will be an interesting little battle in the remaining laps for position number 7 here.
Yeah, oh man, when he went across that curb through the left-hander, I thought surely he's going to spin it, but he didn't. Looks like the downforce was helping him out there. There's battles going on all throughout the top 10. Dance versus Blocker for the lead. Hinz and Edmonds for 5th. Margetts, Walker, Soslowski and Ireland for 10th. These guys fighting incredibly hard. Can Walker find his way past Margetts at turn 5? Sticks the nose out, says, I'm here. And Reese Margetts says, yeah, sure, I don't care. Dance coming into the pits.
Oh, wow. That is huge. I was just about to add, too, Thomas Hinz did get the move done as well on Daniel Edmonds for position number 4. But now, where will Dance come out in comparison to Timothy Vaughan, who's coming around the final corner now? I think Vaughan's going to clearly pass him. Dance has only just pulled up to his pit box. So he's going to fall behind Thomas Hinz as well and Daniel Edmonds. So this is massive for Cameron Dance. Now the question is, where will Adam Blocker come out? Will he make it to the end? Will he have to pit at the end? This is all up in the air. Cameron Dance comes out in position number 5. Thomas Hinz sets the fast lap at 106.9 for Thomas Hinz, only 2/10 from his qualifying lap. Absolutely remarkable. 18-second lead, Adam Blocker to Timothy Vaughan, but still a question mark over that 78, whether he can make it on fuel.
Yeah, well, 5 laps to go. I mean, in all honesty, if Blocker is 3 seconds slower a lap, doing a mega fuel save, he'll still be able to win. So this is Thomas Hinz making the pass on Daniel Edmonds, and that's how you get it done at the second last corner. Beautifully done from Thomas Hinz there. Exactly what that section of racetrack is designed to do. This fight's still ongoing here. It's Dylan Walker in the middle of a triple threat of DPR cars, and Reese Margetts on the primary tyre, still managing to stay ahead of all these guys. There's someone spun meanwhile, Peter Baxter on the front straight. That looks like pretty heavy damage for him, and judging by the tyre tracks and where he is, I think he caught the curb on the outside of the final corner. He's going to have to be careful with that. But meanwhile, Dylan Walker still trying to keep Scott Soslowski and Chris Ireland behind him, as Adam Blocker is finally using his push to passes. I think he's trying to build up a gap here just to help him out in case he needs to come into the pits.
I was going to say, is he using the push to pass because he has to pit, or because he's fuel saving so much, he's using the push to pass to try and get any little bit more speed that he can using the push to pass? So the gap hasn't increased or decreased, still about 18 seconds. So that last lap was a 107.7 for Adam Blocker. So he's certainly got a lot of pace. The last lap for Vaughan was a 108.5, but he's coming into the line now. So, I mean, we're only 3 laps from the end. Surely Blocker is on the fuel save as much as he can, and he's going to try and make it to the end here.
Yeah, I think we can say categorically Adam Blocker has been fuel saving throughout the whole race. This is still on though. Dylan Walker almost having to make way there for Scott Soslowski. Out of the final corner, who's going to get the best run out of these guys? It's Soslowski with the youngest tyres, only 10 laps old. These option tyres. Ireland 11 laps ago, Walker 16 laps ago. Reese Margetts has the oldest tyres in this group, but they would have lasted a bit longer being the primaries. And up the inside, huge move there from Scott Soslowski. And Dylan Walker says, okay, you're going to leave the door open on the exit. Oh, no. Ooh.
Big save there from Dylan Walker, but real sideways on the exit of turn number 5. Wow. That was a bit awkward for Dylan Walker. Adam Blocker, he continues on. 2 laps to go for him. He's still on the push to pass. Timothy Vaughan has not used a single push to pass all race, but he's got a fairly sizable gap back to Thomas Hinz in third. Unless Blocker somehow runs out of fuel, Timothy Vaughan's a pretty safe P2 at the moment, but here's the race leader coming into turn 7. Navigates the slow traffic in Greg Patrick quite nicely. A lap and a half to go for the American. Can he hang on? Will he have enough fuel to get home? The gap has also closed between Dance and Daniel Edmonds. Dance that last one by a 107.4, a 108.0 for Edmonds. So Dance is on the push to try and snatch that P number 4 right at the death.
Yeah, for a driver who was in contention for the win earlier, Cameron Dance won't be too happy with how things have gone for him, but He should still get a P4 if he can play his cards right here versus Daniel Edmonds. Dance only pitted 3 laps ago for that fresh set of alternate compound tyres. Daniel Edmonds, 11 laps old, the tyres on his car. So he's got a lot less to fight with than Dance does. And look at how Dance rounds him up coming into the last couple of corners. White flag is out for our race leader, though. And out for everyone as well. With Blocker now nearly 20 seconds in the low. No! Contact there. Dance gets into the back of Edmonds coming into turn 2. And the front wing is half gone for Dance. Edmonds, I think, has escaped too much big damage, but they've managed to keep position. Dance in 4th, Edmonds in 5th. So fortunate for the both of them. But, man, they would have been hoping that battle could be resolved a little bit cleaner. But how about this for clean driving? Adam Blocker is going to make it home on a single pit stop and will take the 2nd win in a row here in Fixed Indy Australia. Checkered flag, and it's an American at the top in America.
Fantastic effort there from Adam Blocker to get home on that one stop. Timothy Vaughan, he's rounding the final corner now. He will get position number 2 here tonight. A fantastic drive for him. And Thomas Hinds will get the final step of the podium. And Cameron Dance has also readdressed that position with Daniel Edmonds. So it will be Daniel Edmonds in the 84 in position number 4. Cameron Dance in 5th. Michael O'Brien, fantastic recovery for him for 6th. Looks like Marjets will hang on for 7th in that fantastic battle in the closing stages. Seslowski 8th. Island 9th, and Dylan Walker rounding out the top 10, but man race, credit to Adam Blocker to make that one-stop work. He said at the start of the race that he dominated Indianapolis and he wasn't getting away whatsoever, but in the end he wins by 19.7 seconds. Absolute masterclass from Adam Blocker.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. The only other driver to make it home on one stop was Tyson Broad, who finishes down in 18th place, but remember, Tyson Broad did have damage from that. We're hearing as well, there's big news coming. What's this about? Post-race drive-through penalty for Cameron Dance. He did redress the position, but race control still thinking that is worth a penalty. Now, how much is a post-race drive-through worth in Fixed Indy Australia? I'd say throw a number out there, 20 seconds. Don't take that as gospel. But that means that it will put Cameron Dance out of the top 10 at least. But the celebrations begin for Adam Blocker. I think he was attempting a burnout there, but he ran out of fuel right at the start there. So this is what happened to Cameron Dance and Daniel Edmonds. Looks like Edmonds trying to protect the inside into turn 2. Dance just on the brakes a bit later and went right into the back of him.
Yeah, it was definitely a mistake there from Dance getting into the back of him, but he did redress the position. I thought that would be enough to warrant any further penalty, but race control have put that down. Whether it holds up or it gets protested or whatever, we'll have to wait and see. We'll find out in 2 weeks' time, I guess, but in the end, didn't change the result for our winner, Adam Blocker. 19.7 seconds up the road. Fantastic result for the Powerslide Motorsports. Number 78, Timothy Vaughan for Vermilion Motorsports in position number 2. Thomas Hinds in position number 3 for Team Jinx Shifters. Also, post-race drive-through penalty we see up the top for car 28, which I believe is Asushi Asofuni, who was down the order already. Daniel Edmonds in 4th. Cameron Dance provisionally finishing P number 5. Michael O'Brien 6th. Marjets, Seslowski, Island, and Walker round out the top 10. There was a fantastic battle between those guys late in the race.
Yeah, and Dylan Walker got absolutely swarmed by Seslowski and Ireland. We unfortunately missed the conclusion of that battle. Only one other finisher on the lead lap there, and it's Dwayne Burns in 11th, 55 seconds behind Adam Blocker. Jones would have been hoping for a better race out of that one. So is Brody Shepherd and Harry Lawrence. They're certainly capable of finishing a lot higher. Bailey Evans finishes in 15th place. Atsushi Osafune, as we said, post-race drive-through penalty for contact with Tyson Broad. That would have been in the dying laps there. Broad finishes an 18th behind Brady Carr on one pit stop, just like Adam Blocker. Peter Baxter, 2 laps down, same for Dean Jacobson. Scott Rankin also finishing 2 laps down after a couple of visits to the pit lane to fix damage. Greg Patrick, 5 laps down, and unfortunately we have 4 retirements from this race. Robert Baxter, Mark Cochran, Stuart Vaughan, and Joe Mahoney, who was out on lap 2. Man, what an incredible race, and what an incredible win it was for Adam Blocker. Adam, welcome to the comms box. Congratulations once again. You won at Indy, you won here. This time, it was fuel saving early on that got the job done.
Yeah, thanks. Definitely wasn't easy saving all that fuel. I knew basically at the beginning of the race, I knew there was a possibility you could do a one-stop if you hit a really big fuel number. So I was going to try to do it while keeping track position. This is the sort of track where it's obviously really difficult to overtake. So yeah, and if it was like too difficult to hit the number while keeping track position, I was just going to go. But in the end, I was kind of able to manage. And then once I got halfway through the first stint, I was, I really just focused on hitting a big number. And even if at that point one of them had passed me or something, I would have just kept hitting my number and stuck to my strategy. So.
Yeah, good stuff. Barber, as you say, a difficult track to pass on. So yeah, you obviously were focusing on the fuel save right from the start, considering, Brady and I were talking about it. We were expecting you to streak away like you did at Indianapolis, but you didn't.
Yeah, I don't know. Definitely margin in qualifying was tight, so I wasn't expecting kind of to have as much pace margin, I guess, as I did to be able to save fuel and keep position. But I think it helped that Cam got past Daniel at the beginning. It was just kind of chaotic. There was some really good fights in front of me in the second stint. Like Cam and Thomas were really going at it, and it was difficult for me because I didn't want to get held up too much. But I knew that they were probably going to have to stop again, so I just was trying to save fuel behind them and not lose position to cars behind.
Texas Motor Speedway is the next round, first oval of the season, and I'm assuming you have a bit more experience turning left than the majority of this Australia and New Zealand field do.
Yeah, we'll see if I can make it, but Texas, it's been a really fun combination with this car recently. A lot of, like you can run multiple lanes in 1 and 2, about 3 or 4 lanes in turn 1 and 2, and then, obviously you can pass into 3 and 4 as well. So yeah, it's been really interesting, and as long as the weather's warm, hopefully the admins generate like a kind of a warm track, then there'll be a lot of tire drag and it'll be interesting. So.
All right, anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go, Adam?
Just all the series organizers and everybody for the good race. See y'all next time.
See you next time. Adam Blocker, race winner here at Barber Motorsports Park for round 2. Second place on the road, Brady, was Tim Vaughan. You stood by with him.
Timothy Vaughan, firstly, congratulations on your second place result tonight. You had some very impressive pace out in front earlier on. You're the first guy of the bunch to pit later in that race, and unfortunately for you, Adam Blocker pulled out the miracle and did a one-stop.
I could tell. I mean, anytime you're keeping up with Adam Blocker, he's it's not just because you're fast; it's because he's doing something. So when he stretched that to 28 laps, the first stint, it was clear he was just going to one-stop it. And from there, it was a race for second. On the first stop, I short fueled the car, so I had a bit of a shorter stop. Was able to jump Cam, then lost it on the cold tires. It just meant I came in earlier in the second stint, trying to build a gap to the guys behind once they were on fresh softs, and it just about worked out for me today.
Describe the race in that you're involved in tonight, obviously battling with Cam Dans, Thomas Hens, Daniel Edmonds all night long, and obviously Adam Blocker in that first stint. It was absolutely crazy. There was only about a second and a half separating you 5 guys. It was incredible to watch, at least on our end.
Yeah, I mean, that first stint, it was an incredibly nervous time. I was sort of just trying to sit and save as much fuel as I possibly could, try not to get too crazy, and just because, I mean, it's so close the gaps in front of me and behind me as well. If I made a mistake, and I think the couple guys behind me did make mistakes, and you just lose 2, 3, 4 spots, and with how hard it is to pass here. any mistake was going to be really costly there. So it was just about trying to keep in a rhythm, not make too many mistakes, and then once the race opened up, try and show a bit more pace.
Well, in 2 weeks' time, we head to our first oval of the season, which is at Texas Motor Speedway in 2 weeks' time. Have you done much oval racing in these cars, and what are your expectations heading into that race in 2 weeks' time?
I've been known to do an Indy fixed official every now and then. It's been a while, admittedly, since I last did one. So little expectations. Hopefully I can still sort of be up towards the front to keep the championship fight, or at least as far as I'm concerned, get some good points, and then we'll see how it goes. It's going to be interesting. I don't know how fast the other guys are on ovals either.
Well, certainly after tonight, your championship will still be right there with a second place finish here tonight, Tim. But before we let you go, anyone you would like to thank?
Just thanks to the boys at Vermilion Motorsports and our partners, Moza, Barber, Hi-Mo Setups. And thanks to everybody. Thanks to you guys for the broadcast. Thanks to Race Control. And thanks to the other drivers for a fun night of racing. Congrats
once again, Tim, and hopefully we can talk to you again soon.
Cheers. Thank you.
And Reese, I believe you've caught up with our third place finisher, Thomas Hinds.
I have indeed. Welcome, Hinsey. Third place on the road for you. That's your second podium in a row after Indianapolis. You must be very happy with your performance there. Of course, I think quite a few drivers were caught out with the fuel saving from the likes of Adam Blocker. So how did you react to that?
The tell for me was that he didn't just bolt down the road and gap us all by a million miles. So once I saw that we were sort of all checked behind him, and I was sitting there thinking, I know Adam is just an absolute gun in these things. So I was like, if he's not bolting, he must be trying to fuel save, I assume. That was my assumption anyway. So in hindsight, probably could have maybe tried to do the same thing, but I just thought, bugger it, I'm just going to send it. I feel a bit more comfortable just going for it rather than trying to be too cute about it. So just was trying to get through where I could. Didn't realise that the alternate would actually be as good as it was. I think I had some PTSD from Indy where it just died after 2 laps, so I was a bit sceptical. But when I saw Ireland, who was on at the start, saw he was still doing good pace at the end of our first stint, I was like, okay, this alternate might actually be all right over a stint. So that gave me the confidence to push it a bit more in the last 2 stints. And some great battles, and very hectic. It always is at Barber, especially in these things. But chuffed to get a podium. Didn't expect to have 2 of them, especially in a row. So so good stuff.
And what about next round? We go to the ovals for the first time. You've obviously had some experience on ovals in IndyCar, so you'll obviously be drawing from that.
It'll be a good challenge. I haven't actually. So I've done ovals a bit, but I haven't touched them in a long time. So I'm not going to expect anything. I'm just going to go in and be like, who knows? I might wipe out the first 5 laps, or who knows? I'm just going to go in with no real expectations, and knowing, especially as it usually is for these sort of series when we go to ovals, because obviously not everyone, but a lot of the guys doing it aren't very experienced, or hugely experienced in ovals, like myself, to be fair. So it can be more incidents, obviously. So I think survival might be a little bit enhanced, I guess, the factor it'll have. Hopefully I'll just keep clean, have decent pace, and get a decent result. I'll call that a win for me.
Any shout outs you want to give for your podium, Hinsey?
Obviously just the HCR guys, awesome crew. A big up to them for the constant support as always. Big thanks obviously to Dan and Tom tonight as well. Tom did an amazing job running it there tonight. That was very well done. So awesome stuff from the AOG blokes as always. They always run a great show and a great series. Big thanks to you guys for putting on a great broadcast showing the much action that, at least from what I saw, was going on. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks very much for joining us, Thomas Hinds. It was indeed a great race, Brady. And now we turn up the pace when we go to Texas Motor Speedway for the next round in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've never watched Indy Oval race before, so it'll be new experience for me. I can't wait for it. And from what Adam Blocker was saying, sounds like Texas can race really well in these cars, so I'm sure it's going to be pretty wild there on April 2nd there at Texas Motor Speedway. I can't wait for it, Reese.
Yeah, I can't wait either. Mark that date in your calendars, 2nd of April at 8:15 p.m. AEDT. Cheers for watching, everybody. Whichever platform you're on, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or Kick, we appreciate you. And we hope that we can see you again very, very soon. I'm Reese Gardner, Brady Baldwin with me in the comms box, Jay Kennedy in the producer's chair. Thanks so much to the crew at Aussie Online Gaming for putting this series together, and to all the drivers for putting on such a fantastic show in the 3rd round of Fixed Indy Australia. From all of us here at SimSpeed TV, bye for now.